This podcast contains explicit language.
And spoilers. Only if you suck. This is Dave.
Yeah.
And that was Carlos.
Yeah.
Two Fat Guys Talk Games. Post E3 conference Tuesday, June the 11th.
Yeah, E3 is still ongoing, but my compatriot Dave is going on vacation here soon and will not be handy to talk about it. So since the big three have done their conferences and we've seen quite a lot of announcements already, let's start talking about them.
Wow, this has been an E3 to talk about.
Well, here's
So let's get through the elephant, the giraffe, and the chainsaw massacre that happened yesterday.
yeah, so
let's talk about each conference as their own, and then we can talk about everything as a whole. So I've got to say I was impressed with what Microsoft did.
they really did.
They really did need the initial conference 2 weeks ago to get through all the stuff that no one gave a fuck about. They kind of learned from last year's E3 and the E3 before, where they focused way too much of their actual E3 conference on stuff other than games.
They really did.
Microsoft did say,
You motherfucker. You did this last time, too. It's like, pause. Oh, he's he's opening the window. Nope, he still has a thought.
yep, go ahead.
No, fuck you. You finish your thought.
Wow. A little bit of Microsoft going on here, folks.
Oh, Microsoft. No, I'm not bleeding in an alley. What are you talking about?
No, go ahead.
They really did show games this time. Kinda, sorta. And not every one of those games was something abhorrent. When I was watching Rise, I thought to myself, this kind of looks like Roman God of War. I could kind of play Roman God of War. Okay, Rise looks kind of cool. Sunset, was it Boulevard? Or Sunset Express?
No, I think you had it right the first time. In fact, I actually, during the conference, I made a list off of my Google Drive of the games that I was going to be following up on, and Rise wasn't one of those. I mean, I like how it looks, but I haven't seen enough to really say much. It was Sunset Overdrive.
Sunset Overdrive?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
That was the name?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Positive.
Huh.
Because during that entire conference, I was grabbing the titles of the games they were showing and putting in the title plus PC to see if there was a PC version.
Yes, but we all know how you are with titles.
Well,
Tell you what, if it is Sunset Overdrive, I will formally agree.
Sunset Overdrive.
Yeah, you're right. So it kind of looks like Jet Set Radio, the zombie shooter.
It does. And
I'm okay with that. It's by Insomniac, and,
yeah, the trailer was actually, it was bright, it showed off some funny stuff. I don't think we'll be able to do most of the stuff that actually showed during the trailer in the game, but maybe they'll surprise me. It looked like a interesting game to come out and say, hey, this is an exclusive, but totally not.
Jago, Glacius, Saberwolf, Ultra Combo.
I'm gonna tell you right now, I never played Killer Instinct.
It was kind of shitty.
In its original versions, and as much as I understand that a number of people who play fighters were like, oh, this is a cool thing, that whole segment was stupid. I hate when developers come out there and do some prefab planned speech while you're playing a game. If you're gonna trash talk, fucking trash talk. But fuck those who are writing it up saying they were doing a rape joke during it. Fuck them.
Well, here's the thing. I saw that. I saw the outcry for that. Here are my thoughts on the rape joke controversy.
Just take it.
The thing is this, sometimes during casual speak, we'll say certain things. Hell, on this very podcast, I've said that certain things give me a rape boner. Now, here's the thing. I'm not condoning rape. This is in our extraordinarily casual and highly informal and highly
Unplanned.
highly unplanned and vulgar
Yes.
friend talk. So I get that. If I was on stage somewhere presenting this, I would not talk about my rape boners.
Yes, but something tells me whoever wrote up the script for them to say, I'm gonna come out and say that that wasn't what they were going for. They weren't doing a rape joke. It was just somebody who wrote their dialogue who wasn't thinking.
I don't even think they were following a script. I think they
they were.
I think they went by point to point. Okay, you say something like this, I say something like that. And the guy just kind of did that. Honestly, it was ultimately, it's being made a big
Lame.
deal of. If anything, it's bad for being unprofessional. Because murder is wrong too, and we all joke about how we'll murder the shit out of things, right?
Ultimately, not enthused for Killer Instinct because I'm not buying the X-Bone.
Well,
And
thing
I
about-
don't think the developers deserve any level of the crap they're getting right now based on that skit, other than the fact that the skit they did was retarded.
Well, Maximilian and a bunch of others went and played Killer Instinct that night, hey?
Uh-huh.
And they said it felt really good. They had to talk to the developers who cited the specific influences and why they chose them. So they did stuff like backdashing have a little bit of invincibility, because the developers openly said, when we played Street Fighter 4, we saw what people thought of that, and we're like, we kind of want this for Killer Instinct.
That's fine.
And these are developers who've never made a fighting game before, and they haven't made a lot of really well-made games, right? I forget the name of the dev, but I saw their credentials, I'm like, oh, geez. But visually, the engine looks like it's a 2D fighter. From what I'm hearing about how combo breakers work, it's already miles better than how they used to work in KI 1 and 2, where you just had to paper, rock, scissors it, and you could break a combo for free. It still is, but only certain parts of a combo that the attacker could just choose not to do. And if you guess wrong, you're locked out of combo breaking for 3 full seconds, right?
You're going way more into it than I care about.
Well, I care about it. So, and what was odd is they showed this little teaser and this canned little playthrough, but they should have had tourney players going up there. They should have fucking James Chen and hell, Maximilian even go up there and play some fucking KI and show you how this looks like a real fighter.
Yeah.
It really does. It's just a travesty that this company's first fighter, which actually looks halfway decent, is going to be on such an anti-consumer, anti-tournament thing.
Well,
and under its free-to-play model where you have to pay for every character.
Yeah, that's where I was going.
It's just such a travesty that KI is locked to that. I almost think Microsoft should let it be multi-platform, just 'cause, why not?
Yeah.
Yep. So, what else was shown for Xbox? They showed the Halo 5 teaser. I'm still mad at 343. They showed, help me out here, what else did they show?
Well, the memorable stuff, Dead Rising 3.
Mm-hmm.
Not your cup of tea, but as much as I'm pissed off that it's an Xbone exclusive and there is no PC version announced for it yet, I've got to say, they're definitely, if you compare 2 to 3, someone's thinking. Because they've made Dead Rising into an entire city. And as long as they scrapped a lot of the whole, you have to be here at this time, there at that time to do certain things, or else you're not going to get the good ending. My I weakened a little bit on that one, but I figure we're going to see a PS4 and a PC version within a year of it coming out on the Xbox. So
They also showed Metal Gear Solid 5 Red Dead Redemption 2 in the Xbox.
I've got to say, I do not like Metal Gear. I haven't liked any of the Metal Gears they've had since the NES days.
I like certain aspects of the narrative, the Metal Gear.
I've got to say, I would play Metal Gear Solid 5. From what I saw there, I still have to see more, but my finger's pointing it up at this point.
The Metal Gear, the only one I care to play, and I might not even play it as Revengeance. But that's just me. I do like certain aspects of the narrative and the mythos of Metal Gear, and one of those things is David Hayter. Scrapped for Kiefer Sutherland, who I did not enjoy playing the role of Snake. Kiefer Snake does not make my Snake rise.
This is a good thing, because, yeah, anyway. Voice actors aside, they decided to take them at an older age, and Hayter didn't do it for them.
Yeah, well, you know who else didn't do it for them?
You can't finish that.
I was going somewhere with that, and then I forgot it completely.
Other games that interested me from their conference was Max: The Curse of Brotherhood. That was that side-scrolling platformer.
Is that an Xbone one, or is that
actually
else?
That's coming to PS4 as well?
Okay, good.
But
because
still,
that did look good. It looked good.
Again, throughout that whole thing, every game that I was interested in was going into the search engine.
Indeed. Crimson Dragon.
Project Spark.
Project Spark looked awesome.
Amazing.
It kind of looked like a Little Big Planet that doesn't look shitty.
Okay.
You know what? Maybe I'm being too harsh on Little Big Planet. I really hated the jump mechanics, and sometimes that leads to irrational hate of Little Big Planet as a whole. But Project Spark looks like Halo Forge mode on crack cocaine.
It looks amazing, and thankfully it's not an Xbone exclusive. It is coming out for Windows 8.
You're gonna have to move to Windows 8 eventually.
I know.
You know you will.
I know.
We'd all be on Windows XP if we all three didn't have to move.
Thank goodness, though, that there are mods that have been made for Windows 8 to bring it back to a Windows 7 mode. Other games that interested me, Crimson Dragon.
Crimson Dragon looks like Panzer Dragoon, and I like Panzer Dragoon.
Yeah.
But not enough to buy an Xbone.
It's an Xbone exclusive. Halo 5, well, no shit, Xbone exclusive, but we've seen it. Now, you tell me, while you were seeing that, did you think for a second that was Halo?
I missed the part of it that was the Halo 5 teaser.
Okay, the Halo 5
if you recall,
teaser.
I had to step away briefly.
I thought that was a new
IP?
Prince of Persia.
Oh.
Well, it shows a guy in like a burlap sap robe walking through a desert, and the footsteps are disappearing in the sand, and then this giant mecha thing rose up out of the ground. For a second, I'm like, Mass Effect 4? Really? And then he puts down the hood, and it's Master Chief, and it's...
Why is he wearing a hood?
They didn't say Halo 5. They also...
Did he also wear a sweater on the outside of his armor?
The only thing that may have given me a more of a idea that it was Halo was the fact that he held Cortana's, it looked like he was holding a normal soldier's dog tags, but then when he actually opened his hand, it was the thing that holds Cortana, usually empty.
Interesting.
But they only showed that just as he was gonna open up his hood. So yeah, you couldn't tell it was Halo unless you saw it ahead of time. It was very much using a live action sort of thing. So I feel that they're starting to show what they're going to be doing with the live action series, which I think is going to suck personally.
I just want the Arbiter back. Oh, he's never coming back, is he?
And the other one is Titanfall.
Titanfall looks like Mecha Shooter, and I'm okay with that.
And whether Sony paid Bungie to allow them to only show the new game footage on on their conference or whatever else, it was a real loss for Microsoft not having Destiny being shown there.
Yeah, it really was.
But other than that, what did we really learn from Microsoft during that conference? We learned the price, $4.99.
We learned that they're retarded because if they had even half these games at their "you're gonna have an orgasmic relationship with your TV" reveal, they would have not been so hated. They would have still been hated, but we learned the price. You're right.
We learned the price, and we learned that it's coming out in November. Actually, it's coming out right around my birthday. That'll be a birthday present to me I don't give myself.
Indeed. So, after I watched the Microsoft reveal, the Microsoft keynote? Is it really a keynote anymore?
Well, it's a conference, but one last thing on
E3 is a conference.
Yeah, but...
So what is this?
Well, no, it's their
presentation?
Product presentation / their own product conference. One thing to mention is that Microsoft canceled, for the first time in years, their post E3 roundtable.
Of course they
that everybody could ask questions for. No surprise.
So how does it feel being shanked in the ribs? Oh, jeez.
They hadn't been shanked yet, so don't get ahead of yourself.
So after I saw Microsoft's presentation, I thought to myself, okay, you know what? This Microsoft, you have convinced me that if I ever have a lot of disposable income and I really don't need to buy anything else with it, I'll get your system as it stands. Then after that was...
Sorry, just to break in very quickly, I forgot one other thing that they did during their conference that I didn't like. During the Rise stuff, and even during Dead Rising 3, Microsoft Smart Glass.
They did a lot of Smart Glass.
Now,
I thought Kinect was going to be the big villain of their conference.
No, I think they were smart on that because nobody from games that was interested in games wanted to see Kinect stuff.
That's right.
They didn't do their whole sports thing. They showed off the one sports game, and they kept the racing games down to a minimum.
Everyone had racing games.
I think that
even Nintendo had racing games.
Yes, but again, a little bit different. Microsoft didn't want to duplicate what they did during their conference. A lot of, to you and me, racing games tend to be white noise. In a lot of cases. Sometimes.
Racing games, for me, are usually white noise, but the ones that I like, I really like.
Yeah. So they did that. They had the whole NBA one, which was a big thing, I guess.
They had Poet Rapper Guy.
Yeah.
On Twitter, everyone was like, Screw Attack Chad, otherwise known as Boomstick, tweeted, "What the fuck is this?"
But Microsoft Smart Glass. Now, I did not like what I was seeing there, because for Rise, they were showing the whole, well, it'll show your friends and show you what sort of progress you're making. Okay, sure, whatever. During that time, they were doing the whole, well, while I'm playing Rise, I'm actually looking for a match in Killer Instinct, in the background. That is kind of a cool feature.
Yeah, it's pretty cool that you can just swap on the fly like that, and it's not even the Switchblade interface loading. It's just smooth. That's cool.
That was cool. What I didn't like is in Dead Rising 3, where all of a sudden they're pulling out their Smart Glass, and I'm gonna call in an artillery barrage using Smart Glass. Now, we don't know yet if he could have done that inside the game, but if that's the only way to do those features, that is bullshit, my friend, and I am not spending...
It would work okay if they had a Wii U gamepad on the Xbox, because that would be baked into the controller. But this is a separate thing you have to do now. Now you have to pull out your phone, launch Smart Glass.
Yeah. No, this is not how you do it. And this is not how you market I'm gonna call it a peripheral at this point.
It's, for all intents and purposes, it
is a peripheral, and you're right. Unless I have a whole bunch of expendable cash, I'm not buying the system. I'm sure as fuck not buying a smart glass compatible peripheral, be it a phone or a tablet or whatever else, just so I can nuke some zombies in Dead Island 3.
Your iPhone's compatible.
Dead Rising 3, rather.
My iPhone's compatible. My
Is
Android is compatible. Yeah, I've used it.
Really?
My iPhone 3GS. This is the good thing about Smart Glass. Microsoft made it available for Apple, their own platform, and Android.
Oh, then...
You can get Smart Glass with conceivably any phone you can imagine.
Okay, then I need to apologize, because I didn't know that.
No, you don't need to apologize. It's still a stupid fucking feature.
Well, no.
A fun feature if you have two people playing.
Well, actually, I gotta take that back a little bit then. Because if it is available for pretty much every cell phone device on the planet...
It's also free.
And free... kind of takes away a little bit of my rage, because that means if I wanted to do that sort of stuff, I could just pull it out. That being said, it can't just be a smart glass only option, or in case that's still bullshit. I shouldn't have to pull out something else to nuke a fucking zombie.
I agree entirely.
Optional?
I think
fine.
I think in a past episode I talked about trying to play Mega Man 10 on Smart Glass, but Smart Glass doesn't actually let you play games with it yet. It does work for all intents and purposes as a controller. You can swipe, and it'll swipe the blade pages. Yeah. Smart Glass is fine as a cool little side thing, and it would be cool in a two-player mode. Like, if you were playing Dead Rising and you handed me the phone so that I could do your artillery strikes for you, and then you're like, okay, Carlos, strike, Carlos, and I'm not on your couch, that would be hilarious.
Kinda, yeah. But...
yeah, mandatory, no. Yeah. It's one thing if it's a shitty Wii U gamepad, and for all my harping on that, if Dead Rising 3 were on that, and it had that would be cool. Because this is baked into the controller.
From what I saw from that, though, I don't think they could pull off the same level with the Wii U.
They did a persistent large world in Spider-Man 2 on the systems it was available on. They could do it. It just wouldn't be as nice and high fidelity.
Yeah.
Anytime someone at E3 said the power of Xbox or innovation, I wanted to drop kick a child. And back to the whole thing about humor.
Cloud.
I don't want to actually harm children, but I'm joking about it.
Yeah. And there's another thing. Microsoft and the whole cloud computing thing.
Thanks to the power of the cloud, you can jerk off for all to see.
Well, I'm not talking the Kinect here. I'm just talking how they're trying to supposedly offload a whole bunch of the processing to the cloud. Now, until I see otherwise, I'm saying bullshit. Because the company I work for is spending hundreds of thousands trying to offload a whole bunch of stuff to the cloud, and it's not working for basic shit, let alone a game.
Why would you process shit over the cloud? Cloud storage is one thing. Cloud processing? Like, you have to process at something remotely and then FedEx it somewhere else. That's not efficient.
Yet. The bottom line, though, is I think that's going to come back to haunt them very much so. I figure that's going to introduce, if anything, lag.
That was the whole motto of E3 for Microsoft, this shit coming back to haunt them. Their system, $4.99, right?
$4.99.
Okay, $4.99 US. So in Canada, that'll be $7,899. So...
not quite.
Yeah.
Anyway, so then Ubisoft had theirs.
The EA one was before Ubisoft.
Okay, I didn't watch in the right order.
And then there were two games off the EA one that they showed right away that I thought looked really cool, and for the life of me, I can't remember them. They started with these two games that I'm like, holy shit, EA is impressing me? Thank you.
To be honest, I don't know.
What did they show?
Well, they showed a game that a lot of people were looking forward to.
Which is Mirror's Edge 2.
Mirror's Edge 2.
They ended with that, though. This was right at the beginning.
Plant vs. Zombie shooter.
Plant vs. Zombies Garden Warfare.
Yes.
Super surprising how fun that looks, because I don't give a shit about EA or Plants vs. Zombies. You know what? I don't have a beef against EA. I'm not some dipshit hipster gamer who thinks they're the worst company in America. Fuck off, hipster gamers.
I don't like a number of things they do, but yeah, I kind of agree.
I agree. And then
they are one of the worst gaming companies, though.
I doubt that. I don't think they're any worse than any other big gaming company.
And most embarrassing part of the of EA's show, the jump up and down Peggle 2 announcement.
Yeah, Peggle 2!
Holy
yeah!
crap.
Leaving the stage!
When he jumped up and just like slammed like he was slamming a ball or something, I'm like, dude!
I didn't mind it. That guy had confidence that these assholes in suits needed. And even if it was clumsy and awkward, I wanted clumsy and awkward more than just another guy in a suit touting his innovation and value added and market researched buzzwords.
Star Wars Battlefront 3. I was surprised this title is even still around. Actually, I don't know if it's called Battlefront 3 or just Battlefront. Dragon Age Inquisition. I liked Dragon Age 1. I told them to go fuck themselves in Dragon Age 2. Didn't like it. I liked the whole strategic controlling everybody aspect of Dragon Age 1 and the story. I didn't like the action-y slice them up of part 2. On top of which, I didn't like just how much they recycled dungeons. In fact, you may remember that we actually knew somebody that worked there at the time that was being developed. We asked them a few questions.
I never asked them questions. I think you did, though.
No, well, I nailed them a number of times.
I didn't think I was going to get anything out of their super strict privacy.
Well, no, he never. It was already after the game was out, but he was quite upfront on how they considered it a clusterfuck and they thought they failed. And yeah, we all agreed with him that you fucking failed.
What's their excuse on Sonic Chronicles?
I don't know.
I'd like to know.
And other than that, they had their sports titles, Battlefield 4, and Mirror's Edge.
There was another title. For the love of freaking Christ, what was it?
Reading all the...
Garden Warfare. It was a shooter of some kind.
I'm reading all the titles that they released during that conference, and I'm not seeing another shooter other than...
It wasn't Peggle 2, I'll tell you that much.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't that important then, because...
Yeah, it couldn't have been that important. So Garden Warfare looks pretty fun. I'm gonna have to admit that.
I saw them playing it, and yeah, it does look kind of cool. I'm probably more interested in the normal Plants vs. Zombies 2, but I would play a shooter based around that, because it looked kind of cool. So that came and went. And then we had Ubisoft.
I still have to play Rayman Origins, and I really need to play it soon, because Rayman Legends is looking hot.
Well, I will play that with you, because I actually started playing that with my sister and brother-in-law, and we got to a certain point where we ran into the wall of the two of them kind of sucked.
Gotcha. I'll be sure not to edit that out.
That game was brutal in places. I mean, we were going through areas 4, 5, 6 times. Good game, but you have to have patience. You can't have a temper. You kind of just have to take the blows and say, please may I have some more. So, Ubisoft, anything in there that you, liked?
The big one for me was Rayman Origins. But I have nothing but respect for Ubisoft. It's just that a lot of their, franchises are not games I'm terribly interested in is all.
Well, the games that I'm interested in, Splinter Cell Blacklist, because I loved the last one they did. I mean, it was really fun, had a really good storyline to it. I really liked it. Watch Dogs, come on. Hack the fucking planet, literally. When they showed I know I'm getting ahead of myself, but during the Sony conference, when they showed, the 5 or 6 minutes of actual gameplay of how that player worked through that scenario, I was already looking at things he was doing. I'm like, well, I might do that differently. I might do that differently, but it looks amazing.
Yeah, Watch Dogs conceptually looks really cool.
Is it going to get tedious and boring quickly? I don't know. I still need to see more, but right now, my thumb is up for that game. Assassin's Creed 4, same thing. I didn't like Assassin's Creed 3. I got bored of Assassin's Creed 2 about 3/4 of the way through the game. But there's something about the combination of being a frickin' pirate and ship-to-ship combat. When they showed the actual you steering the ship and telling your guys when to fire and everything else, I was like, fuck yes, I want to play this game.
Mm-hmm.
Mighty Quest for Epic Loot.
I liked the...
Idea's kind of cool.
I liked the incessant swearing.
Yeah.
That was bleeped out. There was one here on your list here that I wanted to talk about briefly. South Park, The Stick of Truth. That had a cool trailer when Stan's dad showed him that fart and then punched and kicked him a whole bunch.
I don't care.
I want Obsidian to make a Chrono Trigger remake, and they're instead making a South Park RPG. There is no justice.
Yes, there is.
Or perhaps this is justice.
Moving on. Just Dance 2014, moving on.
Don't you love Just Dance?
No, I don't.
Why?
Beyond Good and Evil 2 coming out.
Yo, don't skip, don't drop the subject. I want to know why you don't like Just Dance.
Are you fucking kidding me?
I am. I don't play it either. But why don't you play it?
'Cause I'm not a 13-year-old girl?
I got the weirdest boner right now.
Okay, we're done with Ubisoft. On to Sony.
No, what about The Crew? The Crew look kind of cool.
The Crew?
The Cars. Persistent overworld car MMO. Work with your friends. Take down the bad guys.
Just for our listeners, I'm shaking my head like Carlos is crazy.
The Crew! Look it up right now.
It must have been so insignificant to me, I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, look it up after we're done talking.
Okay.
The Crew, out in 2014, or 13, one or the other, or 15. Next came Sony. So, Sony did not immediately shiv Microsoft. They did eventually shiv them.
Well, let's do everything in order here, because it really does need that effect. Now, I'm going to hope that anybody listening to this has actually seen their actual presentation, because yes, at points it was a little bit boring and a little bit awkward. But they did start off with talking about the PS3 and the games that were coming to it. I did feel they spent a little bit too much time on bragging about how many games were coming to the PS3 still. However, that's still valid, because a lot of people are not just going to jump into the PS4. Or should I say weren't going to jump into the... Sorry, getting ahead of myself. But they did spend a little bit too much time focused on that, I think. However, the next thing they jump into, how they're supporting the indies.
I did like their whole indie game presentation.
I love the fact that they actually went... Sorry. Fuck.
Do I just not exist to you? Yeah, the indie game presentation was very strong. They picked good indie games to show off. I especially like that one crew where they're like, they didn't think we were going to talk to them. We responded to that by putting them on stage at E3.
I've got to say, I was really surprised with some of the indies that popped up there. I did like how they had a monitor each, and they were actually having the person stand there and play a little bit. The one that surprised me, two that surprised me the most, actually, was Mercenary Kings. Mainly because I supported them in Kickstarter. And then that Undead Zombie one.
As opposed to not undead zombie.
Good point. The zombie one where you're bringing your own legion of zombies with you.
Yes.
The reason that one surprised me is I was actually supporting the Kickstarter of that when they pulled it off 26 days early. Not due to lack of funding. It was all of a sudden something came up, avenues just seemed to align. We can't tell you anything right now. So we all knew they had to have found a publisher. But what we didn't realize is that they didn't find a publisher, they found a platform that would respect them.
Mm-hmm.
So seeing all those guys pop up there was nice. I may not have liked all the games they were showing there, but you're already seeing how Sony's going to treat indie development.
Yeah, they went and said, we're going to allow indie development. It's like they were watching Microsoft closely. What's the Japanese president of Sony who people are saying just really smart guy, Kaz Hirai or something?
I couldn't tell you.
He's seriously probably watching. He's like, okay, this is what we're going to do. And it's like their whole playbook read off like they saw every one of Microsoft's points and had just a one-up for it. And the fact that they came later in the day
Helped.
Just added to it, right? Like,
I don't think we're going to see the level of quote-unquote indie support as Microsoft was doing at one point. I don't think Sony's going to let their indie area become saturated with fart games.
Yes.
Or clones. You're going to see... You're not going to see 1,000 Minecraft ripoffs. You're not going to see the Animu-inspired bullshit on there on dating and everything else. Those sort of things I think we're seeing the death of outside of Steam Greenlight and self-publishing. And I've got to say, fuck yeah.
Yeah, it looks like they got a good platform going for these kinds of games, and it looks like they have some pretty good heavy hitters lined up for themselves. Like, they showed a lot of games that were multi-platform, but they got the exclusive look at, like Destiny and shit.
Yeah.
And,
getting ahead of yourself.
Obviously, we'll talk about the shivving. Relax. And they talked about, Square Enix's stuff, and there's still a lot of people moist in the vagina for Kingdom Hearts, and I'm no longer moist in my vagina for Kingdom Hearts, but people like Kingdom Hearts, so showing off 3, big boost to it.
Not exclusive, though.
Not exclusive, but who cares? Same thing with Final Fantasy 15 versus 13, which is what I'm going to call this game now, because that tickles me. I like how they're nicely dodging 14 in this whole big debacle.
No, they talked about Final Fantasy 14 coming to both PS3 and PS4.
Mm-hmm.
And number of people who cared was probably less than a handful.
Probably the same people who like Final Fantasy 11.
But they did show off the actual console finally.
Yes, they did. It kind of looks like an Xbox One smaller and slanted.
Actually, now that I've had a good look at it, it does look like they took a PS3, flattened it out, and then ran a racing stripe down the middle of the really glossy versus regular.
Yeah, like the Xbox One.
Well, like the Xbox One, sure, but it still looks like something that I would expect from Sony.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, that stripe down the middle is purple, which was one of the main colors of the PS2 for a couple of its areas. So I'm fine with how the PS4 looks. We finally got a look at the back of it, and it's basic. You've got your optical audio, you've got your HDMI, you've got your power, and that's it. Unfortunately, there's only 2 USB ports on it, which means you'll need a hub for something, but small things.
Yeah, people are skimping on the USB ports. They know they can offload that to us with USB hubs. Fuckers.
A little bit awkward with the Ubisoft demo of Assassin's Creed 4. Especially seeing as I'm very sure he wasn't actually playing.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that was a video, especially based on the fact that there was no mistakes through movement or jumping or anything. An actual player, you can tell.
Yep.
That looked like one of those time things from Mario where the computer does everything.
A speedrun?
Speedrun, thank you.
Yes.
So it was a little bit awkward, especially when it froze right at the end.
They very nicely hid the fact that for PlayStation 4, you're going to need a Plus membership to play online.
I don't think they didn't come out right and say it, but it was on their slide.
It was on the slide, and he did say it, but he said it in a very positive way after the shivving.
Let's get to the shivving.
Let's talk about the shivving. So Sony basically shivved Microsoft like. I go to fighting game tournaments, and this is exactly what happened, okay? For no reason, the other guy was obsessed with doing a raging demon. And I could see him clacking all the buttons, okay? And I knew he was about to pull it off, so I just sat there and waited for this demon to come out, because he was so obsessed with pulling it off. He does it, and then I jumped. And let's just say this is a weird version of Street Fighter, where if Akuma misses a demon, he runs into a wall and knocks himself dizzy, and he's in front of you open. And PlayStation, they didn't do anything super spectacular. They simply said, we are not going to do all this bullshit Microsoft is doing. As we've mentioned, it's just this weird thing of goodwill Microsoft abandoned. And all Sony had to do was say, that's just stupid. We're not going to do that.
Well, and all I can say was that minute and a half of bitch slapping. In fact, I would go one step further and use your Raging Demon example, except you know he's about to do it. You stood 1 millimeter further than the Raging Demon went. He came right and smacked his face right into your fist. Because very nonchalantly, again, class, he just is on stage, and did you like the little comment he threw out right before that of like, this is a good start, but we can do better.
Yes.
And then he's like, so, used games. We're allowing used games. I'm not going to say exactly what he said, because anybody who hasn't seen it has got to say it. Just go to Monday's stream for the whole day at 10 hours, 50 minutes.
Keep in mind, it depends on the streaming service, too.
Actually, I found that on both Kotaku, GameStop, and all of them. They all had the same basic stream for the time frame. So it's about the 10-hour, 50-minute mark.
We don't condone Kotaku on this program.
I will say one thing for Kotaku this year. Their streams were solid for the presentations. I had to go there because other streams were knocking themselves off.
I just went to Twitch. Uptime, all the time.
And I didn't think about that. Anyway, so he says that, and their graphic comes up on the screen, and he's like, so, you buy a game, you can play the game whenever you want, you can lend the game to whoever you want, you can sell the game whenever you want, or you can keep the game forever.
Yeah.
And all you saw, they then cut to the crowd, and the crowd is just going nuts. You're looking at people and their faces are smiling, they're looking over to their neighbors. You almost expect high fives to start happening.
I do like the little asterisks on the bottom though. It's like, for disc-based games only.
Well,
please don't think our promise includes downloadable games.
Yeah.
We are not that generous.
Well, yeah, the giant picture of the disc was awesome. and then they go on, and he just continually rips. Microsoft was never mentioned, and that was the awesome part. It wasn't that, unlike Microsoft, we're not doing this. It's, you can do this. It doesn't
will not require once every 24 hours verification.
In fact, you can play your single games offline with no online presence. It goes on, and it just that whole minute and a half of bitch slapping, I've watched it at least a dozen times, because it's freaking class. And I forget who the announcer was at that point. I think he's the head of
Sony America or whatever.
Yeah.
And he was in that video where it's like, here's how you can lend used games. Here you go. Thank you.
Yeah, it's just, again, class, because he's up there and he's just smiling because he knows. He's won.
He had the biggest grin on his face. It's like, they're all thinking, did Microsoft just do this? Did they just give this to us?
And all I can think of is there's a boardroom of Microsoft executives that are running the E3 show somewhere in some hotel close by. Their mouths just hit the floor, and whoever's the highest executive in the room just looks at everybody else and says, "We're fucked."
Especially when they said $3.99.
Getting there, but then after that, they go back to the games. Well, let's show some stuff. I mean, they showed Destiny, and that was a good 8 to 12 minutes worth of gameplay. And I've got to say, between what was the other one that we were talking about there? Between Titanfall and Bungie's Destiny, if I had to choose between the two, Titanfall just went out the window.
They're very different games, too, keep in mind.
Again,
let's be fair here.
If I had to choose between the two, Bungie's got my cash. I liked what I saw there. I liked how they even showed us how weapon progression and upgrading was going to happen there. Very Bungie, once again, they're showmen. They know who to send out there and how to show off what they need to and just entice you a little bit. They know what they're doing, and that's exactly what they did for that. They showed us the graphics. They showed us a guy getting his ass kicked. I'm pretty sure that was staged.
They showed us a vampire with a handgun.
Showed us a vampire with a handgun. They showed us going from dark areas, light areas, powers. Just enough of a tease that we knew it wasn't Halo, but you could tell they were still working on their Halo-esque roots. But that game makes Halo look like nothing. I'm gonna just say that. Granted, I have no idea the storyline, how much things are gonna go, but they also showed right there and then a public freaking battle going on. These sort of things are what you need in these shooters nowadays to keep people interested.
I would disagree, but I would say it's cool when a game has them and if they work.
Yes.
I don't think they're necessary.
I like the idea of being able to play your game, but if a public event is happening, you can just jump in and other people will jump in to help.
I have no issue with that. And even better if that's fun and seamless and it's awesome.
Yes.
I'm just saying it's not necessary.
I think these days, in these sort of environments, the option is necessary. We're seeing it more and more in our MMOs, in our shooters, and it does make the game more fun, I find. It's a personal thing, I know, but the option, I'm never against having options.
I'm not against it, but no, that's not necessarily true. I think if a game is supposed to be focused down to a certain core set of things, of mechanics, then having too many options can be bad. Now, not for Destiny. I think it's great that Destiny is doing this. I'm just saying that I don't want to see every single player game thinking it has to have internet connectivity and public events, because they don't.
They don't, but this seems very much a single player game you can play with a group that has a story, that you can do large scale things. I'm figuring they're doing something like when the public event is happening, you're basically all coming into the same area and playing, but if you just want to continue on, it wouldn't affect you. At least that's what I'm hoping, but I was really impressed with Destiny. I was even impressed with the Titanfall stuff they showed during the Microsoft one. I mean, it doesn't look bad. It does look like a different game. I like the whole in-mech, out-of-mech thing, objective stuff. We have very positive things coming from that, I think. But, yeah, so Sony showed off a bunch of that stuff, continued on. We saw the intro trailer for the new Mad Max game, made by the Just Cause guys. I'm a little bit disappointed that it's not Just Cause 3, because I really did like Just Cause 2. But if it's in their hands, I figure it's going to be quite fun. Just from the little stuff they showed us there, I actually called it as Mad Max, right when he got out of the car. But I was still kind of surprised I was proven right by it. But yeah, no. Microsoft may have showed off more games, kind of, like the exclusive sort of things. But I think Sony made a better showing as far as the gaming console for gamers. This is all the kinds of stuff you can expect from us in the future.
Yeah, they kind of harken back to the glory days of PlayStation and PlayStation 2.
Absolutely.
They're kind of like, you know what? Let's go back to that. But with more powerful hardware.
I did pause, after it was over. I went back and I looked at a couple of the screens where they're saying like 140 games and they're showing all their games there.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it was intentional or not, very few of those like 140 they were showing up there were new upcoming releases. I mean, they were everything from old games to all the way back to the PS1 and PS2 days.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I saw Dark Cloud 1 in there. I saw Jack and Daxter. But the bottom line is they're saying how much they're investing in first party stuff, but it's very obvious between the indies, which they are definitely looking forward to as being the creative center. I mean, the amount of money that Sony made off of games like Journey, Flower, and those sort of indie artistic ones, I think that really helped Sony pick its direction as far as how the indies were going to work.
Yeah, like
you may not have appreciated those games, like I did, but it does seem like the indies, well, because they don't have publishers in a lot of cases, they tend to have more hype, not more hype. They tend to have more creativity. They're willing to take more risks because they don't have some studio dictating to them that they've got to make a AAA title for X amount.
One thing I like about Sony, and this E3 kind of reaffirmed that, is they're being very global. Like, and let's talk a bit about Microsoft versus Sony.
Region free.
Let's talk a little bit about Microsoft versus Sony before we get to the Nintendo one.
Sure.
So yeah, they announced $399 price point, and they announced,
which is a big thing.
Huge. They undercut Microsoft by $100. Yeah, they're not including their little eye thing like Microsoft is including Kinect, but the eye thing is not mandatory either. So fuck that.
Yeah.
And they undercut Microsoft by $100 on a more powerful machine with less restrictions. Like. So here's the thing that has to happen.
I just realized something. Sorry, just to break in. We didn't see a single PlayStation Move game.
Nope, not one. Not one.
Not a single one.
They haven't given up on it. I guarantee you they haven't given up.
Well, no, but they shoved it down our throats the last 2 years running.
Yeah, at some point, Kasurai was probably like, nah, fuck it. It didn't work.
It's not.
We'll keep it on the back burner, but we're not going to hype it. We're not the fucking Wii. Let's not try to be the Wii.
I just realized that now.
Yep.
Even Microsoft still mentioned Kinect stuff.
Mm-hmm. And Smart Glass.
And Smart Glass. Sony, not one thing on the Move.
Yeah. So here's the thing about Sony versus Microsoft. One thing I like about Sony, and this is especially true in E3, they have development studios worldwide. There's Sony Entertainment Japan, there's Sony Entertainment America, there's Sony Entertainment Europe. There's a Sony subsidiary for like every fucking place on this planet. So even though they're a Japanese-based company, they're a lot more global and less ethnocentric, I find, than, especially recently, after the whole hacking debacle. Where they, like that whole thing they had to make up for. Something happened at Sony. They rearranged, they sat down, they went, fuck, okay, we need to recover. This is our plan. And they stuck to their plan.
That was where PS Plus came from.
So they recovered, okay, and this ultimately leads to PS4 being gamers machine, kind of, for all kinds of gamers. Okay, great. So they've had their plan, and they're a global company right now. And good. And right now, PS4 is my console of choice for the next gen. Deep down, the fact that the 360 was such a good console was a point of pride to me. Because I'm a little continento-centric. That's not a word. But what I mean is, whenever a North American game or console does well, I feel a little bit of pride too, because there are a lot of Japanese games that I loved when I was a kid, but I don't feel a lot of modern Japanese titles deserve half the hype they get. But a lot of hipster doofus gamers cite Japan as being the only place where creativity and great mechanical gameplay comes from. And they're wrong. It, in fact, comes from the world over in small amounts instead of the world over in large garbage amounts. And Japan is not different. They produce a lot of trash too. Choked on my own spit a bit. Fine. So the fact that Microsoft kind of just killed all this goodwill is disappointing, and I want to see them bounce back. And I made a prediction in the last episode, before E3, where I said, here's what I would like Microsoft to see. I want to see them come out and say, we're sorry. We're sorry we did all this. We're going back on them. I'm not predicting it anymore. I think they have to do it. And you know what I want to see them do? I think they can recover, but they have to say sorry. That actually has to be what every CEO in the fucking world is trained not to do. They have to apologize. They have to come out and say, we are sorry. We are sorry that we waged war on the consumers. We should never have done this. We are nothing without you guys. We are redoing all of our policies for Xbox One. Stay tuned. They have to. If they do, they can win back a lot of goodwill by simply going, we were wrong. We fucked up. We're not going to do it anymore. Now they have to do it. It's not a prediction anymore. This is their only way out of this.
I agree with you.
They can recover if they apologize.
The reason why I'm being hesitant here is we have seen Sony CEOs apologize for the hacking stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else. We have not, even for, PSN going down for 48 hours sort of thing, without them telling people that maintenance is being done.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen them apologize. I think that also goes along with the culture a little bit as well.
Mm-hmm. Well,
because if anything, the Japanese execs know that they're nothing without the people who support them. On the other hand, I don't see Microsoft apologizing for shit. I do agree that it is Microsoft's game here to lose. They have been handed a straight flush minus one card. Sony's got a royal flush in their hand.
Technically a royal flush is a straight flush.
Fuck. Okay, so my analogy sucks.
Sorry, I ruined your moment.
The bottom line is Sony right now has the winning hand. Microsoft needs to take that extra card, and they need to make those changes. I don't see them apologizing. It's going to be, we're going to get a press statement. Probably not this week, because Microsoft is probably still shitting themselves. But we're going to get a press announcement saying that upon further review, we will be turning off, or we will not be doing the registration to a game console or an account for a game. Used games will be allowed as long as the publisher allows it. Nothing different than the 360 or the PS3 or what Sony's doing.
Mm-hmm.
Sony didn't lie to us when they said they weren't doing the DRM thing, but then saying that publishers can stop them from doing used games because publishers have always had the means to do it.
Yep.
They just haven't been stupid enough to do it.
Except EA.
Even with EA, it was their whole season, or not season pass, it was their whole...
Their online pass.
Online pass
and they're not the only ones who have done it.
And that's not necessarily so evil.
I don't think it's wrong. I don't think it's wrong for a publisher to go, okay, we have an online
I mean,
pass
the
architecture.
reason why they did it, I think, is evil. I don't think they should be able to make additional money from a secondhand game. I'm kind of against that. However,
It's just $10.
doesn't matter. If it was $1, again, it's a used game they've already made money off of. I don't think that's right. However, I don't see Microsoft. In fact, I'm going to say it, Microsoft's probably not going to renege on what they're saying for probably a couple weeks to a month.
So, yeah.
To try and save face so it doesn't look like they're immediately taking that kick to the nuts. And actually, the scene I could reference here is what happened last night was that scene from Hot Shots Part 2, where he kicks him in the nuts and it just shows the balls falling out of the mouth. That is what happened last night, and the balls aren't coming back in anytime soon.
Because that's how balls heal. And the thing is, though, here's the thing. Corporate culture the world over is all about saving face. It's prevalent in Asia, it's prevalent in North America, it's prevalent fucking everywhere. But there are companies the world over who occasionally realize they need to be human. They don't do it often. They save it for rare occasions. And then when they do it sparingly, they appear more human.
Mm-hmm.
Like Maple Leaf during that whole listeria crisis
Oh,
up here
yeah.
in Canada. And like they immediately came out and said, no, we're sorry. We didn't mean this. We swear. Holy crap. We are trying to fix this.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say Microsoft needs to do it. Will they do it? It would be refreshing, but nothing short of an apology is going to win them back the goodwill. They fucked up. They waged war on their consumers.
No matter what they do at this point, it's going to be in reaction to what Sony has come out to.
Nothing wrong with that.
Well,
Nothing wrong with
no.
being in reaction.
You can try and save face all you want after you've already kicked your fans in the face.
That's why I'm saying...
The sting is going to be there.
That's why I'm saying they need to apologize.
They
need to say sorry.
Even if they apologize.
The sting will be there with an apology, but that will regain them goodwill, and they can rebuild on that. Then they can go, okay, now our system, we're knocking $50 off the price. It's still more expensive, but you're getting a whole Kinect out of it. Okay, maybe we don't want the Kinect, but that's something, right? Then they could say, okay, we're not going to do the DRM thing. Disc-based games are going to work just like they did on 360. Electronic games are going to work the same way. You got to log in if you're at a friend's house, unless you're on your own console. And you don't need to always be on. And, listen, we done fucked up bad. Please understand that's not what we wanted. We didn't mean to do this. Let's move on, please. They need to
Other
show
than the
remorse.
internet will say bullshit to most of that. They meant everything. They meant to screw us this console generation.
No, I know. I'm not saying they don't. No company... You know what? Sony probably was deciding to do this whole DRM thing until they saw what happened to Microsoft. And then they were like, whoa. Let's be the good guys. Let's create the Thunderbolts and take advantage of the public, which is what they did. They created the Thunderbolts. And little comic reference there for you folks. So, I mean, yeah, the apology doesn't have to be meant, but the gesture is what needs to be there. And now let's talk about Nintendo. God, I hate Nintendo so much. They had the best show.
Fuck you.
Oh yeah, they had the best show. Here's why. Okay, I was impressed by their show. And the reason I was impressed by their presentation is because they did not engage in shivving. I kind of envision in my head as three dudes, okay? One's wearing a Microsoft shirt, one's wearing a Sony shirt, one's wearing a Nintendo shirt. They're all sitting there very humbly. The Microsoft guy is being a jackass, like in Plague of Gripes, League of Legends videos. He's laughing like a goon, pushing people, just kind of poking at them, just being a bully and a heckler. So it's not like that video at all, but whatever. And Sony just gets so infuriated and just starts stabbing them. Stab, 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 stab. The crowd is cheering. And then the Nintendo guy steps forward and is like, here's our presentation. And they don't get involved in that. So what did Iwata do? With his limited English, he attempted to provide a concise kind of listing of back-to-back-to-back-to-back games. And that's what the whole thing was. It was just back-to-back games. Here's a new Mario. Here's a new Mario Kart. Here's Bayonetta 2. Here's our third-party offerings. Here's this. Here's this. Games. 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 And during some of them, he said, we wanted to have this out in the summer, but we realized we are going to need more time. And I'm like, holy refreshing shit, Batman. This guy just openly admitted what these stuffy suit motherfuckers couldn't, that they're human and fallible. You're already impressing me, Iwata. And this was what Nintendo's presentation was. Even though not every game there was something I wanted, a lot of them were. New Donkey Kong Country, if it's not Wiimote controlled, I'm giddy up for that, because I want to play that remake on the 3DS now that I don't have to waggle to roll. And he didn't show Mario 2, but he did show a new 3D co-op Mario with the Mario 2 characters with their differences, just like Mario 2.
I thought you'd like that.
I did like it. I'm like, whoa! This is almost Mario 2 in 3D.
You mean I can play with Mario, Luigi, the princess, and one Toad? I'm not stuck to two Toads?
And not just two no-names. Toad.
Yes.
The original.
So
hang on.
Okay. Finish up.
I'll give you a shot to shoot at Nintendo. So what that presentation showed to me is Iwata, he spent a lot of time making sure he was concise in his presentation. His English wasn't perfect, but he put that out there. They admitted when they needed more time. They showed off every product they did. They didn't engage in foul play. They didn't play dirty. They showed their lineup. They talked about why they thought each one was good, and then they ended the presentation. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, this is perfect. This was not, like, okay, maybe it's lacking the drama of the other two, but this is exactly what I want out of an E3 presentation. Interesting games, back to back, and even if they had thrown in a few cool new Wii U non-game features, that would have been okay. They didn't even do that. It was all back-to-back gaming. It was all exactly what we've been lambasting other companies for doing at E3s. So, in the end, for all my grievances with Nintendo, I'm giving them the thumbs up for the best of the three. I was really impressed with the humility of it.
Okay. Where do I begin?
Like, you know how hard it is for me to praise Nintendo.
I know how hard it is to praise Nintendo, but you took very different things away from that presentation than I did. Number one, to take your example of the three people there,
Mm-hmm.
Nintendo was very clear from the very beginning that it was jumping off the stage and leaving the stage to the two powerhouses this year because their system came out last year. They really had nothing to do a full-fledged E3 conference with this year. And
that's so weird to me, because they did. So, sorry, go on.
No, they didn't. Because if you think of Nintendo in the past years, they've always had something new to show. Whether it was a new portable, a new game system, or something flagship. Now, here's my problem with Nintendo's conference. Iwata.
Theirs really was less of a conference and more of a presentation.
Theirs was very much a presentation, a video, which was pre-done. That wasn't live by any means of the imagination.
Oh yeah, sure.
But, and am I saying his name right? Iwata?
I'm pretty sure neither of us is saying his name right.
I would say the problem with their presentation was him. You took it as him being very humble, doing his presentation with humility and everything else. I took it as, why the fuck are you up there talking about English games when I know you have very good English presenters that you have used in the past to show off these games? Now, you can call me an asshole for that.
You're such an asshole.
It's not the fact that he's Japanese or anything else. It isn't. but he shouldn't have been up there. They needed somebody who doesn't speak slow, sometimes barely understandable English.
Do you speak barely understand? I'm sorry, continue.
I thought he was one of the main problems there. 'Cause halfway through the presentation, I was skipping through where he was talking. Because it came across as an invalid who I just didn't want to hear any more from.
Wow, speaking of shivving.
The most heavily accented person I could barely understand from the Microsoft or Sony conferences did a better job of emotion and showing off their product than Iwata did.
I disagree, like, entirely.
I know.
Like, here's the thing. He wanted to present. He wanted to show, listen, I'm kind of the face of Nintendo right now. Yeah, they have Reggie Fils-Aime. And Reggie Fils-Aime does, I'm pretty sure...
Okay, sorry, I apologize if I will take Iwata over Reggie any day.
They have Reggie Fils-Aime, who is a very accomplished English speaker, which you love.
I forgot the fucking alternative. I take back everything.
And the thing about Iwata is he's kind of the face of Nintendo right now. And, they know Nintendo is they came off a high and they're in a bit of a low right now. So he wants to show his face. He was a professional. He was. And here's the thing. Barely understandable. I don't know what weird hearing problems you have, but he spoke...
Actually, I do have a problem with some Japanese speakers. It's me.
that comes off as you having like a different problem than the hearing problem. I know what you mean though. I know what you're talking about. I'm just teasing. But the point is, like, he came out. He's the face of Nintendo basically, and he made sure his lines were practiced. He made sure he was saying the right things because none of his English, like, okay, he doesn't speak English like it's his first language, but his English was not flawed. He did not make, like, any grammatical imperfections were more due to accent and pronunciation.
But there was, I guess the big thing I have against him doing things is he reminds me of the history teacher who speaks in a monotone voice that would bore me to fucking tears. He had no emotion.
He had tons of emotion.
No, he didn't.
It wasn't over the top emotion.
I'm not looking for that, but
like Ubisoft tall black girl would.
I can't think of a single time that he smiled throughout that entire presentation.
I shouldn't be insulting that girl. I liked her.
I can't think of a single time Iwata actually smiled.
He's not there to make you smile. He's there to show you his games.
I'm looking for emotion and pride in what you're doing, not just standing there and talking.
He wasn't just standing there and talking. They showed the demos. They talked about the motivations behind each one. I'm not sure which Nintendo presentation you saw.
Again, after the first third, I skipped him.
Well, you're just crazy then.
Now, as far as the games that were shown, the new Mario game looks kind of cool.
Yeah, I want to play it.
God
damn it,
I do hope they put in an option that you can jump through people, and he talked about the whole you can make it as competitive or as co-op as you want. I just want a fucking setting that I can actually walk through people.
It won't happen.
I know it won't because Nintendo likes that these days, but I wish that would happen.
As long as they don't make it so that you have to be Mario if you're playing alone, I'm sold on that.
It didn't look like that was how it was going to be because they showed Peach solo.
Well, yeah, they did too. Okay.
They showed Toad solo.
I didn't want to have to buy a Wii U, man.
The Donkey Kong Country. I'm gonna admit something here.
Dixie Kong!
Donkey Kong Country can go fuck itself.
The original games too?
I like the music. I've gone back and tried to play them, and I'm just all kinds of mad about it.
You know what? That's fair, because 1 and 3 were probably overrated.
I mean,
2 was stellar. 2 was super well made.
Even 2, I'm just kind of meh on the whole Donkey Kong Country.
Yeah, okay,
I had a little bit of fun with the new Donkey Kong Country on Wii, even with the motion controls. I was kind of having a little bit of fun there, but even then, very quickly, it just all melded into, I've got how many hours of this?
It's not everyone's cup of tea. It's not going to be everyone's cup of tea. I'm fine with that.
The new Pokemon games, again, whatever.
So whoever's been leaking all that info is dead on. Fairy type, dead on.
Mm-hmm.
Although some of the reclassifications to fairy were kind of surprising. Jigglypuff?
Actually, I kind of skipped after that because I do not care about the Pokemon at all.
Jigglypuff's a fairy type now.
That doesn't surprise me.
Gardevoir, who was originally only psychic, is probably now psychic fairy.
I don't even know that Pokemon.
Yeah, you do. Don't lie. Pikachu, fairy type.
What?
I'm lying. I wanted to wake you up a little bit.
See, that anybody who doesn't know Pikachu would just be, or anybody who does be like, what?
What I didn't care about Pokemon X and Y is that they're still doing all, I want the strategic battler without all the bullshit attached.
Yeah.
And they're like, now you can pet your Pokemon. I'm like, Jesus fucking Christ!
Hey, for the kiddies, whatever. I don't care. The new Xeno Saga, or whatever the heck game,
Xenoblade.
Which because I wasn't watching him talk.
Please don't call it Xenosaga.
Sorry.
I know it's the same scenario writer, but I want to pretend they're as far as possible, because I want to play Xenoblade.
Okay, Xenoblade. Which I only knew as X because I wasn't listening to him. That's why I referred to it as X when we were talking. That looked like somebody took the idea of Monster Hunter, added mechs, took out all the suckage, and made it open world and awesome.
There is a surprising lack of suckage in X.
So, that game was one I was already like, this might make me buy it. Oh fuck, that looks cool. Okay. Now, as long as they don't do the PSO, ooh, I can see across this field, but I'm smacking my face into a see-through wall. As long as they don't pull that bullshit in that open world scenario, just like Fallout and all those other games, I think it looks fucking amazing.
It looked like you were able to hover pretty high over the world in your Gundam. So,
and I like how they're doing certain areas you can do the Gundam, other ones, areas you're not going to. I just like how it looks. So I was really impressed with that. What else?
There was something I was going to say about that game. Shit. What was it? I don't fucking remember.
But it's funny. I've seen more on the role-playing game scale outside of Final Fantasy and, well, now Kingdom Hearts, which is more of an action.
You still level up and stat.
I know, but there are the more pure RPGs, and then there's the action RPGs. We're already seeing Nintendo re-embracing role-playing games. Or role-playing game-like games.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Xenoblade, and those last couple RPGs that they did at the very end of the Wii cycle.
The Last Story. Never played it.
I've got both of them.
Last Story 2?
No, Last Story and whatever the hell it was, Xenoblade.
Okay, excellent.
Well, no, you said Xenoblade. I thought it might have been the Wii U one.
Right. X. Or Xenoblade 2.
Yeah.
As I like to call it.
So, I've got to play both of those. And I'll probably play them on my emulator, just because they'll look better.
Maybe I'll play them on a Wii U.
And that's another opportunity. But we're seeing Nintendo go back to its roots a little bit on stuff like that. Sony will, I have no doubt, still gladly take all the ones that are localized. Microsoft, I don't see doing that. Microsoft, I mean, how long did it take Microsoft to give up their hatred on 2D fighters?
Quite a bit. Killer Instinct. What's interesting about Microsoft, no release plans for Japan at all.
That
Parts of Asia, yes.
That doesn't surprise me,
It's
because
really too bad. There were a few niche pockets of 360 support in Japan. And for some reason, Japan loves their Gears of War, loved Halo for a while, and my understanding is they eat up some of the Call of Duty games, which I find very weird.
But then again, all the Call of Duty games, as far as I know, came to PC. And for...
Japan's not really PC gamer land.
That's actually wrong.
There are a lot of independent fighters on Japanese PCs.
Well, there's a lot of those, but really, that's the one area where E3 never even pays any attention, is the PC gaming market.
Well, they used to, back in the Doom 3 era, when PC Gamer jizzed all over Doom 3 for looking good and didn't pay any attention to how it played.
Well, they also probably weren't showing really anything. I mean, I was impressed with Doom 3 for the first half an hour to 45 minutes. All the exploration was very Half-Life-ish. And then the actual game started. And within 15 minutes, I was already bored of the blackness.
I was kind of bored after about 30 seconds, but I stuck to it for another 30. I stuck to it a little longer than that. When I realized I wasn't playing Doom, and I was playing a bad Half-Life knockoff, and I'm not even a big fan of Half-Life, but I can appreciate it. But
fair enough.
If you're going to knock off Half-Life, do it right. Arguably, Halo and Gears of War did the Half-Life formula variant okay. Because Half-Life really influenced that kind of storytelling and level progression in shooters.
Yeah. Did I miss any games from Nintendo?
The Legend of Zelda: A Link Between Worlds.
The game I still wish was on Wii U, but...
the trailer showed that it looks like it's going to play 2D. As long as it's not stylus controlled, I am good to go.
Yeah.
They showed the new Yoshi's New Island.
Which I don't really care about.
The original Yoshi's Island is a masterpiece of a game I still play. The Yoshi's Island DS is like the polar opposite. A game that ruined a lot of the elegance of the original level design in favor of gimmicks that just didn't work. So but Yoshi's Island DS was also designed by a different company too. And that's not always a bad thing. Nintendo could stand to do that for a lot of their properties, but so I'll keep an eye on Yoshi's New Island because I do want to get a 3DS.
I mean, we're only talking about their actual the one video. I mean, there's been other games that have been announced, guess.
And we should talk about that before we end this.
I want to talk about one other topic before we start looking up other Wii U games.
Go.
Something that we've actually bypassed completely.
Yeah.
The Sony Vita and the 3DS. I don't think the Vita is going to make that much of a comeback based on the PS4 integration. In fact, I was yelling throughout that entire thing, I don't care playing my PS4 games on my Vita, but for fuck's sakes, let me play my Vita games on my PlayStation 4. One day, it might happen. I'm not holding my breath, though.
One day, maybe.
The 3DS, I'm still trying very hard not to get suckered into, but between the RPGs, between Zelda, and everything, it's becoming harder and harder not to jump on it. If tomorrow, and I was glad to see there is no new 3DS. I know it was one of my predictions, but I'm very glad that hasn't come out. 'Cause
since I didn't buy a 3DS yet, I was kind of hoping one would come out.
Well, I'm kind of hoping that the 3DS XL, which is the only version I'd buy, drops a few more dollars. Because at $200, I'm still on the fence.
I briefly had a DS XL before selling it, and part of the reason I didn't like the DS XL is because the screen didn't look right.
No.
Normally, I don't mind pixelated screens. I love old Wing Commander pixely cutscenes and shit. But it didn't look right. I'm not even sure what it was.
Well, no. I know exactly what you're talking about, because all it did was it expanded things a little bit. And that did make some games look not so great. The World Ends With You. I had an opportunity to play a bunch on the DS XL.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it didn't look right. It didn't look good on it. I went back and I continued playing on just my normal DS.
Mm-hmm.
Because it didn't, the expansion of the screen did pixelate and make things look ugly. From what I hear, because it was planned from day one for the bigger screen to happen within a year or so, that isn't a problem on the 3DS. Because they made the resolution be able to do that without pixelating. So I've heard. I have not. And truthfully, if you went and you bought a game that was original 3DS and played it on a 3DS XL, you might not notice the difference because you don't have the original aspect to compare it to. Still might look wrong, but you won't know why. I would at least hope that once the XL came out, if what I've heard is bullshit, that they would have at least planned the new games would support that fully.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We should probably mention, because we're past an hour now for sure.
Oh yeah, but yeah, we've actually exceeded the length of Nintendo's conference.
Well, almost all of them were about an hour. Sony's was longer.
We're an hour and a half.
Yeah, well, whatever. Almost. It'll get cut down in editing, but so the thing. Please remember, we are recording this Tuesday evening. The 11th, yeah.
Yeah, it's the 11th.
So, I mean, it's entirely possible there are some games that have just been announced and that we missed.
Oh, Mario Kart.
Oh yeah, Mario Kart.
Mario Kart 8.
Hang on. And by the time of this release, we'll have missed quite a lot of stuff, so please keep that in mind. Mario Kart 8, I kinda dug it, man. It kinda looks like Crazy Gadget, the Mario Kart game. I just wish Mario Kart games had all the Nintendo characters these days, but whatever. It looked pretty fun.
Actually, you know what Mario Kart really looked like to me?
Huh.
It looked like they took inspiration from the Sonic All-Stars.
It did a little bit. I think it was more like they took some Wipeout influences, but not quite as fast. I do wish there were double carts. Fuck.
Yeah.
Bring back the double carts.
Yeah, I do wish for that. Other game we didn't talk about is Smash Brothers.
We briefly talked. Oh wait, right. I don't know.
We talked about that before this.
Yeah. So Mega Man, very visually and presentation-wise, great trailer. I love how Mega Man he got owned and then he kicked the shit out of everyone. When Mario Matrix dodged that blade like his life depended on it, and it did.
Yeah.
I was laughing my ass off. I was losing my shit how funny that was. I have no hope for this game as long as Masahiro Sakurai is involved. If he's not involved, I'll be cautiously optimistic. If he is involved, and it turns out tripping and unlocks are gone, I'll be cautiously optimistic. Until
it's a
then,
rental.
fuck it.
Bayonetta 2, don't care. Moving on.
You know what? No, but this is a big deal, right? That Nintendo got this, and they actually showed it. And occasional guest of the show, Richie, is no doubt very hype for it, because he loved the original Bayonetta. So, the consequences of it being on Wii U, I'm kind of surprised it's not bundled with, or there's no announcement of, like, a Bayonetta 1 remake for it, that system.
I'm not seeing too much. Wow, there's the new Deuce. Oh, that's the old Deuce X remade for it.
There is a new Deus Ex coming, but...
Yeah, but it's a smartphone/tablet game. I don't have much hope for it.
Sonic Lost World looks pretty fun. It looks like Sonic Galaxy, but whatever.
The new Wii Fit, don't care. Pikmin 3, I've never cared.
We didn't talk about Wonderful 101, the superhero everyone combines into weapons game that Nintendo showed.
Which was basically Pikmin.
It was like a Pikmin that I might actually play.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that game is just called X.
There's gotta be more than just
No,
X.
the Wii U game X being delivered or developed by Monolith Soft. It is just X. Sweet, I got it right.
So, Smash Brothers is coming for Wii U and 3DS. Are they gonna be cross-link, or are they gonna be separate games, do you think?
Separate games.
That sucks, because PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale, an underrated game, that Smash fanboys hate because they're retards. No offense to actual mentally challenged people. That game was underrated as shit, and you could crossplay between Vita and PS3.
I figure it's not going to be crossplay, but they might surprise me. Wind Waker HD is looking very pretty.
It is. I don't think I want to play it again.
I think if I had a Wii U and I had some time on my hands, I would probably replay it.
Mm-hmm.
Rayman Legends, I will probably play that on PS4 or PC. Anything else? Batman Arkham Origins.
I still have no idea what that new Disney game, Disney Infinity, is supposed to be.
Well, the Disney Infinity is basically their answer to the Sky...
Oh god, it's a Skylanders clone?
Yeah.
Oh,
is.
Christ.
Yeah. You unlock characters by buying the figures, stuff like that.
Oh, God.
Yep. That's still happening. Castle of Illusion remake.
I'd rather
update.
I'd rather see some remake of Capcom's Mickey games for the Super Nintendo, all very solid.
What did Capcom?
The big surprise, they still have some mystery spots in their schedule.
DuckTales is the only game I really need from Capcom right now, but...
They have some mystery spots, some TBDs, so...
Okay.
There's a big rumor that it's going to be Marvel 4, but we'll see.
I kind of hope it's not, and it's just actually a Mega Man game.
Dave, I have to pee real bad. Can we wrap this up?
Well, you still have about 4 more topics to go before you can do that.
What the fuck?
I do find it funny that your bladder's about to explode, and that Nintendo is starting to do a little bit more of the indie launches on their eShop. I still think they're bending people over on the prices, but...
I think for indie stuff, it's going to be Steam and PS4 for me.
Yeah. That's pretty much it. I'm not seeing anything here to really talk about. Oh, Monster Hunter 4 and Ace Attorney, moving on.
Yeah, moving on. Okay, E3, 2013.
Ooh. Conker's Bad Fur Day creator work on a Wii U project.
Okay, describe what you thought of E3 in 3 words.
Backstabbing goodness.
Backstabbing is 1 word. Backstabbing goodness, fuck.
Stabbing goodness.
Yeah, front stabbing goodness. Jackass. 3 words for me. Interesting E3, finally.
This has been Dave.
Carlos here. Gonna go pee now. So, if you've liked what you heard, you want to leave us some feedback, you want to give us some criticism, whatever, our podcast site is tfgtg.blogspot.com, where you can also find the feed link and our YouTube channel.
You can also find us on Twitter at tfgtg. Yeah. There's no way to continue that. So
no way to continue that sentence.
Please leave us some feedback. We accept good and bad. We will usually respond, seeing as we have such a small group.
We do have thousands of millions of followers, so we might not respond to you right away.
Sure, let's go with that.